All right, for those of you who've been wondering, well, when on earth is this guy gonna start actually cutting a gemstone? That'll be now. One thing I will point out is someone suggested, and I'd forgotten about this option, that I cut and polish a window into the stone to better see the flaws, and so that is what I've done. And indeed, we have a better view. I'm not sure what angle light is best for you guys, but we have a better view into the stone with this cut and polished window, and indeed the flaws from the bottom, which will be the top, continue up through almost the middle, and there's some issues toward the top as well. It's it's a flawed stone, but we're going to try to work around them as much as we can, as I mentioned, by cutting deeply on both sides. We'll have a smaller stone, but it'll still be very nice, I think. So part of this process is choosing a plan, and here is one such plan. This is a Petal 8 cut that I've done before. You can see in the red handwriting here where I've translated, I've done some arithmetic to simply divide the circle into, what is this, 16 parts, 16 times 4, 64, and then relabel these cut points with the appropriate numbers for my 64 index wheel rather than the 96 that it was originally written up for. And then you have the pavilion generally cut first, and then the crown, and then finally the table. And this is when, again, the way I tend to do things is do them roughly until I improve, and then start worrying about doing them better, rather than trying to be perfectionist from the beginning. So one of the things that I'm working on getting better at is to maintain the proportions that are listed here. So for instance, well, this one's not too hard, that the length, this distance from here to here on the stone, is the same for this stone as the width, the distance. So basically the x-axis, y-axis are the same. And then there's other proportions, for instance, T to W proportion would be, there's W, that's the width again. T is the table. So the table is supposed to be just a little bit more than half the distance of the width in size. And then we have U. U is, well, the table, if it's going to be anything other than the same distance, in this case T and U are the same, so it's the same proportion. And we have some other proportions here that don't mean quite as much to me. Let's see, pavilion to width. So P is the height of the pavilion, and then the width again. The height of the pavilion is again approximately half the width. And then crown to width, the height of the crown is more like a quarter the entire height of the gem. So those are some pretty reasonable numbers to work with, and then the whole gem is about 30% of the volume defined by the cube of the width. I'm not sure exactly how we use that number, but it gives us some ideas. Then we have this sketch of what the pavilion looks like from the bottom, this sketch of what the crown looks like from the top. and our instructions. I'm going to get started with that. Turn on, we've got our 240, is it 240 or 260? I always forget. Got our 260 rather, mesh grit lap here, and turning on the water drip at around 1 to 2 drips per second. I'm running out of batteries on my phone, so maybe I will cut this video into 2 parts. Now we're getting set to finally cut here.